Hi and welcome to the Belfry. This is the stunning Brabazon golf course, the first hole. My name is Chris Ryan, and in this video we're talking about some of the advice that you might get on the golf course and actually what that's going to do for your golf game and the golf shots that you hit out on the course. Before we get into the video, in the corner of the screen you should have the details for my social media accounts, so if you don't already follow me on there then please go ahead and do so. So as I said, we're talking in this video about some of the advice that you might get given on the golf course, and invariably when you play with your friends and playing partners there is bound to be some advice given out. Maybe it's from yourself to somebody else, or maybe it's from somebody else to yourself. And what we're going to try and do in this video is give you some ideas about why that needs to be taken on with a little bit of maybe reservations, if you like, rather than just go ahead and accepting that advice and putting that into your game. If we change the impact, which is what happens when the club meets the ball, we will change the resulting shot, and therefore we will change either where the ball goes or how it gets there. Now when we're making swing changes and when we're coaching golfers, ultimately we're trying to change the impact. We're trying to improve the impact so the ball goes through the air better, it flies better, it lands closer to your target. What we're going to try and do in this video is get you to understand a little bit more about how you can change impact without really knowing it. So let's just go through some simple advice that you might get given on the golf course. I'm going to take my setup here. I've got a 6-iron. I'm on this first hole. I've got about 180 yards. So let's say this is my setup here. Now, let's say, for example, I'm an amateur golfer. I'm playing off a handicap of whatever that may be. And at the moment, I'm playing pretty well. I'm playing to my handicap. My game feels in good shape. And I'm doing some nice things. Now, I might stand on the golf course, set myself up with my 6-iron. My playing partners might say to me, Chris, your stance looks quite narrow there for a 6-iron. Okay, now I might say, didn't realise that, didn't realise I had a narrow stance. That can give you the advice, it does look a bit narrow, I'll make it a bit wider. So what I do is I take my back foot and I move it a little bit further, and I ask my playing partners and they say, that looks much better. That looks like the width of stance that we would like to see with the 6-iron. So, by changing the width of the stance, what will I change at impact? I will change the following things. My angle of approach to the ball will be shallower. The loft that's on my golf club at impact will be greater. My ball speed will probably be reduced slightly due to that increase in loft. The path of my club will be more to the left of the target. My club face will be positioned slightly differently relative to that. Therefore, I'm going to change the amount of curve that's on the golf shot. Also, the ball has changed relative to where my eyes are. So suddenly hand-eye coordination is going to kick in and I need to make some adjustments to make good contact. So there's a chance that the contact might change as well. Ball flight is going to be higher, so the apex point will be higher, the drop angle will be different, and the spin rate will be different. So by moving my foot from here to here, I have changed a huge amount down at impact. Now, if those things were needed for you to hit better golf shots, fantastic, you're going to play some better golf. But what if those things weren't needed? What if your impact was actually quite good with your narrow stance? Maybe you'd had that narrow stance for a long time and you'd developed a way of making contact with the ball. You're now going to stand in a position which looks better, but you have changed a huge amount of impact. So why has widening the stance changed so many things down at the hitting area? Well, effectively, what we've done is we have created a relationship between your upper body and the golf ball. By widening my stance, I've effectively set my body more behind the ball, or we can view that in a different way, that the ball has moved further forward in my stance. So, by making one little change in setup, and making a swing which might feel exactly like it has done for the last 4 or 5 months, we have suddenly changed a huge amount down at impact. The chances are you're not going to hit the ball quite as consistently because you've got to readjust to all those changes, with the path being more left, and the loft on the club being greater, and the angle being shallower. You're going to suddenly struggle to play the same level of golf that you have done previously. So, think about this on the golf course. If somebody gives you advice, you need to know how that's going to change your impact. So, what you would need to do is you would first of all need to know what your impact conditions are. Second of all, you would need to know what impact conditions you're trying to work towards. And then thirdly, you need to know what that change is going to do to those impact conditions. That's 3 bits of information that you need to know before you take on that information and apply it to your game. Now, this is something that I don't believe golfers do well enough. I think they maybe take advice from a golfer who's maybe a little bit better than them, and they think, well, because he's better than me, he must know what he's talking about, or she must know what she's talking about. I'm going to implement those changes. It's going to make me better. It might do, it might not do. If that golfer who's giving you that advice can tell you those 3 bits of information, then maybe that might be worth listening to. If that golfer says your approach is a little bit shallow, we could do is steepening it. I think if you narrow your stance, that's going to steepen the approach. That's going to give X, Y, Z. Fantastic. That golfer knows what they're talking about. Maybe you can take that on board. But unless you know those 3 bits of information, I would be a little bit more reserved in taking on that bit of advice, because it can certainly make your game worse. There is nothing in this video which is hope it's going to make you go and play better next time. There's no drills, there's no exercises, but I really think this bit of information is going to leave you in a better place next time you go and play golf. When somebody offers you advice, or maybe when you think about offering some advice, think really about how that's going to change impact. Is that going to make that golfer better, or is it actually going to make them a little bit worse? Let me go ahead and hit this 6 iron, just because we're out here and it's such a nice day. I've got about 180 yards. Pin's a little bit on the left, so it should be a pretty good club for me. So I know that my ball position is actually a little further forward than maybe what would be normal. My club path moves a little bit too far to the right. When I play the ball forward, my club path gets a little bit closer to 0, a little bit too straight. For me, that's better. So this is a good example of maybe why, you know, if someone said to me, your ball position is a little bit forward, let's move it back, that would actually make me play a little bit worse. So let's go ahead and hit this one. Okay, and I certainly wouldn't have that shot back. Just falling left of the flag, but should be on the green. So a little bit more of an informative video. I say maybe not something you can take to the range, but I really wanted to do this and get this information across to you, because I think it's really important for your development and your continual improvement of your game. And that's really what we're trying to do. If we can just continue to improve little bits each time, we'll hopefully get to our ultimate goal, whatever that might be for each individual golfer out there. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you liked. Comments box down below, like button, all the usual stuff. And if you haven't done already, please subscribe. Subscription link in the description box down below. It'll get you access to all my videos, and it means that you won't miss any of the new content, because there's loads coming each week. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next time.